Greetings, my good friends, dear viewers, spouses, husbands, wives, and everyone else. We're continuing our conversation with an Orthodox priest on sexual matters. And our previous talk, we dedicated to thorns. Remember, we relied on the parable of our Savior about the sower, and started off with thorns, which choke the good seeds. Now let's complete the talk. Let's speak about success. And the success is what? Matthew 13. Other seeds fell on the good soil and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. Now, what are good fruits when we speak of love? Obviously, no question about it, it is good, blessed, joyful, and blissful marriage, henceforth and forever. Now, as we are all aware of, marriage grows out of love and persists by love. Moreover, in a sense, what I have mentioned in the previous talk, marriage is love. Just like a plant, remember, our parallel is a parable of seeds. Like a plant, in a sense, it matches or is constituted by its genome, by a set of genes, the design, God-given design of that plant to grow from a little seedling to a beautiful plant. Well, I am aware of the fact that some would argue and say that no, that any living creature, its genome is a result of random errors, of a series of random errors, which they call random evolution. But please, don't get started with me on that. It's a different story. We know that love itself gives life to marriage. The seed of marriage is love. And the seed of perfect quality. Remember, again, the words of Jesus in Matthew 13. Sir, didst thou sow good seeds in that field? The workers in the field asked the master. The seeds are perfect. But the fruits, which Jesus refers to, depend not only on the seed, but on the soil. Some fell in good soil and brought good fruits. So we have to pay attention to soil. And what the soil is? It is our emotional setup. It is our feelings. A little wonder we are talking about love, and we cannot avoid feelings, of course. But let us put carefully in order. Let us arrange those feelings in such a way as to understand which feelings mean what. Which feelings are in the first place, which feelings follow, and which feelings bring about the good fruits. And the first feelings to mention, of course, it is what? You might be surprised when I say that, but the first feeling is an interest to the opposite sex. It is common for most humans, not for all. It's a broad, universal, non-selective feeling, in a sense an underlying layer for other related emotions, just interest. Among the spouses, sometimes it causes what? Jealousy. Whom are you looking at? My honey. I'm looking at her. I'm thinking about you. I think that's normal. That's normal. But make sure not to get mistaken. There are some of us among humans, both among men and women, who are free from that feeling, from that interest to the opposite sex. Nothing wrong about that. After all, marriage is an option. You need the proof. Christ himself stands a witness to that fact, as well as his words in Matthew 19. All men cannot receive the same when he speaks about marriage. And a host of saints who followed him in their remaining unwed. And taking this into account, never fret of having no interest to the opposite sex. Only make sure not to fall into a trap set by whom? Well, by malefactors, by homosexual scoundrels, or by onslaught of sexually based propaganda in the informational space, in our internet or wherever it can be. And never mind its wrong influences, especially on the young ones. If there are no interest to the opposite sex, so be it. You are free. Well, that's your feeling number one. Very common. Feeling number two, my friends, we can select names for that feeling, is infatuation or affection or falling in love. Well, we decided that love is not a feeling. Love is an act of goodwill. Love is self-denial. But falling in love is what we refer to as infatuation. It's an altogether different feeling, of course, from just broad interest in the opposite sex. It's acute, intense, narrowly aimed at a particular person. Remarkably, does not always have sexual nature, especially in the young ones, in childhood and adolescence. Never mind the Freudian nonsense. You know, what Sigmund Freud invented with regard to immature sexuality, all that. Doesn't need to be elaborated upon. But infatuation is a fact. It's a good fact. It's good when a man and a woman fall in love with one another. Now there is a third feeling, third kind of feeling, which is also often coming to our scope of attention. It's different both from interest and from infatuation. It's called libido, physical desire. I don't think that adult listeners and viewers need any explanations with this regard. Only again make sure to differentiate it from infatuation and from general interest. Now, libido is often labeled a wrong feeling. And indeed, how often it causes so much trouble for everyone involved and even not involved. Let me just remind you that in marriage, the absence of that feeling causes even more trouble than its presence without, beyond marriage. Make sure to remember that. So you say, okay, we're all set now. We have feeling number 2, feeling number 3, falling in love and physical desire, and we can build a great marriage based upon these 2 feelings. Or rather, we can provide good soil for marriage, having these 2 feelings. And that's not quite the case. That's not quite the case. We'll have to have the 4th feeling based upon these 2. These 2 feelings, number 2 and number 3, desire and infatuation, will give origin to a special feeling which people are aware of, but not always consciously aware of. It's a special feeling because it springs up, it emerges, not in one person, but in 2 persons at once. We call it reciprocity. Reciprocity. Such a simple word. But without reciprocity, I don't know, it doesn't work. But when reciprocity is present, when both of them increase their feelings by giving it to one another, then, and probably only then, there is a good soil for great marriage. This soil ought to be carefully toiled, irrigated, maybe by your tears. I mean, women, of course. Fertilized by reason. If need be, reclaimed. Yes, reclamation of soil is necessary in marriage. And then it will bring forth the fruits, 100-fold or maybe 1,000-fold. Being in fact an emotional twin of love, reciprocity offers an answer to a famous or maybe infamous pronouncement of a character from this great book by Clive Staples Lewis. His infamous character, whose name is Screwtape, speaks about love in his own perception and says the following. Let me read it. One self is not another self. My good is my good, and your good is yours. What one gains, another loses. Even an inanimate object is what it is by excluding all other objects from the space it occupies. If it expands, it does so by thrusting others aside or by absorbing them. A self does the same. To be means to be in competition. Now, what do we have in case of reciprocity? Assume I have a thing, a piece of paper, piece of paper, whatever, anything. I have it, it's mine. Now, I divide it into 2 pieces, and I give one to you. Great, you have it. Now I still have it, but less than I used to have. I'm only half. If I keep dividing things and give them out, I have less and less good things with me. Fewer and fewer things. That's how it happens in material world. The guy is correct. Now, if we speak about love, so we speak about reciprocity. I give something to you, you have it, and I have more than I had in the first place. I have it more. I don't have less. I have more. And that's the principle of love, God-given quality of human beings. Love increases when it is given out. Love increases when it works as self-denial. When someone denies himself and herself to that effect, he and she, both together, receive more and more and more. And this more and more leads them to eternity. This more and more makes sure that they are united forever in the kingdom of heaven. May God bless you and your marriage and your life, and everything you have is given by the Lord for your benefit. Goodbye.